March, Book 3, by John Lewis and Andrew Aydin. Pages 172 through 190. 65. Sheriff Clark quickly resumed his vigil over the Dallas County Courthouse. Move along now, and turn that light on. Click, click, tick, tick, tick. We have come to be here because they are registering at this time. We are not... If you don't turn that light out, I'm gonna... You are blinding me, and I can't enforce the law with that light in my face. We have come here to register, and this is our reason for being here. We are not... You are blinding me with that light. We're... No. Come on. Come on, Sheriff. Move back. Off of me. Crack. C.T. Vivian. Click, 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 click. Psst. He'd been there in Nashville in 1960. He was with us on the Freedom Rides. He did time in Parchman. If we're doing wrong, why don't you arrest us? Go on. He was in Birmingham in 63, in Mississippi in 64. You just doing this for the cameras? No. It's a matter of facing your sheriff and facing your judge. And now here he was again. We're willing to be beaten for democracy. Making good trouble. Necessary trouble. February 18, Marion, Alabama, 30 miles from Selma. After being released from jail, C.T. Vivian spoke at a rally protesting the arrest of a SCLC worker named James Orange. After C.T. spoke, hundreds of people were ready to march to the city jail and sing outside Orange's cell. Hold it! Dozens of Alabama state troopers had been sent to Marion as reinforcements to restore peace to the Southern way of life. You must turn around, go back to your church or to your home. This was a dangerous march. Undercover darkness. Zzz. Too many things could happen. Too many things could go unseen. Fall back! Everybody back to the church! Fuck! Papa, I got you. You all right? Up. Let's get up quick. Daddy! Quick, follow me. We'll head to Max. Mama, come on. Quick, quick. Come on, Mama. They're right behind us. Harry, you need to head to the kitchen. What's going on? Ding, ding. Where'd they go to? Stand down and give up. Blam, blam. You get away from my mama. Oof. Crash. No! Jimmy Lee Jackson was a 26-year-old Army veteran. Another half-hour passed before local police took him to the county infirmary. I received word the next day that Jimmy Lee Jackson was critically wounded, but still alive. His shooting weighed heavily on us all. If Jimmy Lee Jackson died, no one could say what would happen. 2 days later, my birthday, I was on my way to Georgia to help with SNCC voter registration efforts there. We have breaking news to report. Please stand by. We have received reports that Malcolm X has been assassinated by a group of armed gunmen in New York City. Repeat, we have received reports that Malcolm X has been assassinated by a group of... I had my differences with Malcolm, but after seeing him in Africa, I was filled with grief over what could have been for him. Here, at this final hour, in this quiet place, Harlem has come to bid farewell to one of its brightest hopes, extinguished now and gone from us forever. The actor and activist Ossie Davis delivered his eulogy. Last year from Africa, he wrote these words to a friend. My journey is almost ended, and I have a much broader scope than when I had started out, which I believe will add new life and dimension to our struggle for freedom, honor, and dignity in the States. I am writing these things so that you will know for a fact the tremendous sympathy and support we have among the African states for our human rights struggle. The main thing is that we keep a united front, wherein our most valuable time and energy will not be wasted fighting each other. However we may have differed with him, or with each other about him and his value as a man, let his going from us only serve to bring us together. Now. Co-signing these mortal remains to earth, the common mother of all, secure in the knowledge that what we need in the ground is no more now a man, but a seed, which after the winter of our discontent will come forth to meet us again. Just before the service, word came that Jimmy Lee Jackson was dead. It was raining when I got back to Alabama, a cold, hard winter rain that I've really only felt in the South. Jimmy Lee Jackson's funeral service was held on March 3rd. Dr. King spoke. He was murdered by the brutality of every sheriff who practiced lawlessness in the name of law. He was murdered by the irresponsibility of every politician, from governors on down, who has fed his constituents the stale bread of hatred and the spoiled meat of racism. He was murdered by the cowardice of every Negro who passively accepts the evils of segregation and who stands on the sidelines in the struggle for justice. Somewhere along the way, Bevel suggested we take his casket all the way to Montgomery and lay it on the Capitol steps. George Wallace could not ignore that, and neither could the state of Alabama. We buried Jimmy Lee Jackson that day, but the idea for the Selma to Montgomery march was born. We held planning meetings and discussions for the next 4 days. Many SNCC members were against the idea of marching from Selma to Montgomery, especially Jim Foreman. They felt the march would do more for Dr. King than it would for the people of Selma. I disagreed. It was one of the most difficult decisions I had ever dealt with since becoming chairman. The people of Selma were hurting. They needed to march. But I was alone in my belief among my SNCC colleagues. When Bevel formally announced that Dr. King would be leading a march from Selma to Montgomery on Sunday, March 7th, Jim Foreman drafted a letter from SNCC to Dr. King, carrying my signature at the bottom. As chairman, I had a responsibility and an obligation to represent SNCC's decisions. We strongly believe that the objectives of the march do not justify the dangers. Consequently, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee will only live up to those minimal commitments to provide radios and cars, doctors and nurses, and nothing beyond that. SNCC would have nothing to do with this march, but it was a SNCC letter, not a John Lewis letter. March 6, 1965, Frazier's Cafe Society, Atlanta, Georgia. I returned to Atlanta, where I met with several of my SNCC colleagues in one last attempt to convince them that we should participate in the march. But after several hours of discussion with most of the SNCC Executive Committee, it became clear I was the only person arguing for us to participate. I'm a native Alabamian. I grew up there. I feel a deep kinship with the people there on a lot of levels. You know, I've been to Selma many, many times. I've been arrested there. I've been jailed there. If these people want to march, I'm going to march with them. You decide what you want to do, but I'm going to march. And that was that. It was decided that if I were to participate in the march from Selma to Montgomery, I would not represent SNCC. I would march simply as myself. Sometime after midnight, we took off for Selma, 4 hours' drive away. We arrived at the Freedom House at dawn, then slept for a few hours. Better get you ready, oh yes. It was close to noon when we woke up. They're coming through Alabama, oh yes. You can take my freedom, oh yes, but you cannot take my dignity. I figured I might be arrested, so I packed my Army surplus backpack with things I might want in jail. It was time to go. U.S. Capitol, Statuary Hall, January 20th, 2009, 1:17 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.